All right, Alexander, let's talk about the political battle, the palace intrigue that is taking place in Germany. Olaf Scholz is the chancellor. The powers that be, the war hawks, the globalists, they're tired of Olaf Scholz and they would like him replaced. We have an election. I don't think it's confirmed yet, but it looks like there's going to be an election on February 23rd. Which could see Friedrich Merz becoming chancellor. He is very hawkish, especially when it comes to Ukraine. He said he would send the Taurus missiles to the Zelensky regime. He absolutely despises and hates Russia. But until February 23rd, there's a lot of pressure on Olaf Scholz to send the Taurus missiles to Ukraine. And so the palace intrigue that is taking place is trying to replace Scholz with Defense Minister Pistorius. At least until February 23rd, they would have someone in place as chancellor who would start fast-tracking those Taurus missiles. What are your thoughts?
The key point to understand is that on 20th of January, Donald Trump is inaugurated president of the United States. And it is quite possible that he would rescind at that point any decision to supply to enable Ukraine to conduct long-range missile strikes deep inside Russia. So the idea is what you want to do if you're going to send Taurus missiles, you want to send the Taurus missiles to Ukraine before Donald Trump becomes president, so that Joe Biden, as president, can arrange for the Americans to supply the Germans and the Ukrainians with the technical information to enable those Taurus missiles to be used to conduct deep strikes against Russia. So you want to get the thing going before Donald Trump becomes president and reverses the policy. So waiting until the 23rd of February, when the election takes place, and Friedrich Merz becomes chancellor, doesn't really work. You try and do it sooner. You try and get Olaf Scholz out of the way now, and you put Boris Pistorius, who's the hawkish, very strong anti-Russian defense minister, in place. He then reverses the decision immediately. The Taurus missiles are sent to Ukraine. Joe Biden gives the green light, and you start using Taurus missiles for for deep strikes against Russia before Donald Trump becomes president, and you hope that way that he'll simply go on giving permission to do that. So that was the plan. It all fell apart because it turned out that Pistorius did not have the support within the SPD that many people thought. German public opinion, of course, opposes the delivery of Taurus missiles to Ukraine. And even though Pistorius is more popular than Scholz is, ultimately, the SPD decided to stick by Scholz, and Pistorius himself announced that he was not seeking to replace Scholz, who will remain chancellor until the election on 23rd February, which everybody expects will happen then, at which point, of course, whichever one of them had been leading the SPD, the likelihood is that Friedrich Merz and the CDU will take over. So the plot has its point, its purpose. I mean, it's obviously not been explained in that way. The explanation that's been given is that it's because Pistorius was more popular than Scholz, that was the idea that, switching the one for the other. But the real reason, I'm sure, was the Taurus missiles. But anyway, put all that aside, the plot failed. Scholz remains chancellor. He will lead the SPD into the election, where he will, of course, lose the election to Friedrich Merz.
Yeah, all of this was about Project Ukraine, the Taurus missiles.
Absolutely.
Even though Germany's in a terrible state.
Absolutely. If anybody tells you it was not about Project Ukraine, they're wrong. But you're absolutely right.
This should have been about the economy.
It should have been about the economy.
Recession, factories, 23% bankruptcies year over year. I mean, Volkswagen closing down facilities. chemical facilities closing down.
Yeah.
That's what this palace intrigue to remove Scholz should have been about.
Yes.
But at the end of the day, it is the absolute obsession with Project Ukraine that is bringing Germany down.
Yes.
Your thoughts on that? And my follow-up question is a good segue to our next topic. The same exact thing is happening in the UK. Project Ukraine is bringing the UK down, even though there are so many other problems going on in the UK economy.
Absolutely. This is exactly right. Because, of course, in Germany, the entire expectation was that when the sanctions were imposed in February 2022, Russia would implode, Putin would fall, everything would go back to the way it was, and Germany, in fact, would do an awful lot better because then it would have the access to the lithium and all the rest in eastern Ukraine, and it would also be able, the Europeans would have access to Russian raw materials, and things would turn out fine.
Free Russian resources.
Exactly.
Balkanized Russia.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Of course, it turned out otherwise. And the problem is that at the same time, all kinds of commitments have been made. There's been all kinds of rhetorical things said. I mean, we're going to stand by Ukraine no matter what. We're going to accept even the most terrible economic conditions on behalf of Ukraine. So you get the sense of when people are very frightened because everything is going wrong, they can see Ukraine is collapsing, they become angry, they become even more obsessive, even more hardline, even less willing to compromise and to rethink the mistakes that they have made, and their instinct is to escalate and double down and triple down and to just go on doing that which they were previously doing, even as everything falls apart around them. And in the case of Germany, the Germans, for the last 2.5 years, have been deluding themselves that despite the major fall, the price increases that happened in 2022, the stagnation and indeed decline of the economy that happened in 2023, somehow in the end, everything would turn out right. And what has happened over the last few months is that the penny has finally dropped, that with the high energy prices, with the sense of conflict in the world, on the contrary, Germany is now on what is increasingly looking like an irreversible slide towards total, well, I won't say collapse, but certainly into a major economic crisis with deindustrialization, which will transform the face of the German economy once and forever. Germany as the great industrial machine, the manufacturing motor at the heart of Europe, that Germany has probably gone. It's probably too late now to turn it round. Whoever becomes Chancellor in February or whoever takes over after that, the game in effect in Germany is lost. So there's panic, there's fear, there's uncertainty about what to do. They're looking at the economic numbers. They're in shock about them. They have no real plan going forward. There is suggestions that because of the climatic conditions, this is going to be a very, very hard winter. There's tight supplies of energy. They're hoping for more LNG from the United States, but Donald Trump is unpredictable on energy issues. If he senses that energy prices, fuel prices in the United States might rise over the next few months, he's shown that he's capable previously of prohibiting exports of LNG and of oil. I mean, it's entirely in character that he might do something like that. So the Germans are in panic, they're in deep fear, and they don't know what to do. And none of the major parties has a plan about what to do going forward. And you're absolutely right. In Britain, it is exactly the same. Complete denial about the realities. Once again, all the evidence suggests that household energy costs are going to spike. Energy costs for British industry, what's left of it, are going to spike as well. There is no obvious solution to Britain's energy problems. And the economy, after a budget that we analysed a few weeks ago, which has increased spending, increased debt levels, but has also produced a very, very high increase in taxes. All the indications are that the economy is now sliding into recession there as well. And again, the Starmer government has no plan going forward because they won't admit to the proximate cause of all of their problems, which is the loss of stable, reliable supplies of gas and, by the way, oil as well, from Russia going to the European economy, which affected the energy price situation in Britain as well.
All of this for Project Ukraine.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
These two countries have decided to destroy themselves for Zelensky.
Mm.
It's incredible when you think about it.
Well, we've been in Hungary, and again, one of the most striking things is listening to various prominent people in Hungary. Again, I don't want to name any specific names, but very, very senior, well-connected people. And we met state secretaries and ministers from various departments of the Hungarian government. And one of them, a very senior person, used the expression economic suicide to describe what Germany is doing. And I can't disagree. That is exactly what the Germans have done to themselves. In fact, my major takeaway here in Hungary is that the Hungarians, tough-minded, practical, realistic people on economic matters that they are utterly baffled and bewildered about what the Germans and the others have done.
Yeah, don't get me started about Nord Stream and the conversations we've had about Nord Stream.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No.
Okay. We'll end it there. TheDuran.locals.com. We are on Rumble, Odyssey, BitChute, Telegram, Rockfin, and X. Go to the Duran shop, pick up some merch like what we are wearing in this video. There is a link to the Duran shop in the description box down below. Take care.